All right, guys. Welcome to Blue Tech Empire Python tutorials. In this edition, we are going to be learning, or in this clip, we are going to be learning how to install the Liclipse IDE, the Liclips Integrated Development Environment for Python. Now, the Liclips IDE is actually a derivative of Eclipse. Eclipse IDE is a very popular IDE. I remember when I started coding in Android, like since 2012, actually used the Eclipse IDE before Android Studio came into place, which made things a little very much simpler. But the Eclipse IDE is actually a derivative of Eclipse, and it makes things a little bit easier. It has simpler configurations, and it's simpler to use. But one specific thing about it is it supports Python from the on-go. Like once you download it, it comes with the Pydev plugin. The Pydev plugin is a plugin of Eclipse that helps you to use Eclipse to code in Python. So the Liclips ID comes with the Pydev plugin already installed within it. So you're set to go. But you need to tell Liclips where Python is installed. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's get into the video. Now, the Liclips ID is very useful because you may not want to use ideally, but the other derivatives like PyCharm and a lot of other derivatives or ID you can use if you want, or Visual Studio Code. Maybe I'll drop a video on how to install Visual Studio Code. Don't know, but I may do that because Visual Studio Code is also a very popular ID and a lot of people do use it for Python. So I'll consider that. So Liquid Editor is very good to use. I'm going to show you how you can get that. First, you need to go online. Um, Go online now, check for Liclips. I'm teaching you how to use Google to search for things too because that's what everybody does. All right, I even already have liclips.com. So liclips.com is where you get Liclips from. As you can see, it tells you a lot about Liclips, and you see you can support JavaScript. You see, for example, you can support JavaScript. You can use it for web development. Very important. I think if I want to do web development, I would like to use Liclips. Also supports Python. And one advantage is you can use it for Django. Django is a back-end framework for using Python to develop web applications, especially back-end applications using Python. So Django is a very popular Python framework. If you don't want to use PHP sometimes, Django is a very good alternative to and it's very useful if you just want to be Python all the way. Sometimes you may want to learn PHP, but Django is very popular. Python is very rich, so if you use Django as your backend, you have a lot of advantages. So as you can see, it requires Java 11 installed on your computer. It's very easy to install Java. If you don't have Java installed on your computer, just type Java run time environment, runtime environment 64-bit. That's all. You go for Windows. Let's see this Windows. This Windows Windows 10. All right. So if you don't have Java on your computer, it's very easy. Just go here and Java downloads for all operating systems, and download Java. I'm going to show you. Let me just show you because sometimes it's very difficult. People usually face this problem. All right. So you go here and download what you want. You can download the 64-bit version from here. Just follow it and download it. So it's very important. So but I have Java installed on my computer, so I'm not going to do that for this video. So let's click download to see the options we have. Like I haven't seen the 32-bit version. Already they said something about 32-bit. They said note that 32-bit standalone version are no longer available. So if you need to work with a 32-bit machine, please use the older version of Liclips. All right, so you understand. they don't longer develop for 32-bit versions. So if you want to check your system architecture, if you're using 32 or 64 bits, it's very simple. You can open a folder here, go to just go to this PC, right click on this PC, go to properties. At properties, you find your system type 64-bit. I have 64-bit. I advise you to actually get to 64-bit operating system because 32-bit operating systems are quite older now, and current programs are large enough. They need to load a lot of data onto the memory, so they usually need a 64-bit addressing space. So I usually advise you to get a 64-bit version of your operating system. Most programs now will always want 64-bit. So I'm 64-bit, so I won't worry about that. But remember, you can always go online and just write Liclips 32-bit and you get the 32-bit version. Everything, we do everything on Google. Like I always emphasize, I've been coding for 10 years now, but each time I'm doing a major project, I use Google more than 60% of the time because programmers always forget. So never try to be a programmer who knows or cram every stuff. So no matter what you do, you always move to Google to code, all the time. I've been coding for many years, but I use Google all the time. So anything you want to search, you can go on Google and get a lot of information on that. So I wouldn't download it because I already have the version. I'm going to show you mine. But if you don't have, just click download, and there is it, 164 megabyte. I won't download it because I already have my version. Here is my version. I already downloaded it in order to make the video faster. Here is my Liclips version, so I wouldn't be downloading any. All right, so I'm going to install it. So what you do, usually like to run as admin. Very important sometimes because you may need to access valuable resources like your drive C or registry and some important resources. So you need to give it administrator privilege. So next, very important, you can take note of where Liclips is being installed. Then we know how to hack this. We're gonna get where it's installed anytime you want by session. I'm going to show you guys. So we don't need that now. So you can save this somewhere. You can use a text editor to copy and paste this, but no real need. You see, it's going to take 321 megabytes. So let's just follow this. All right, I've installed Liclips before. I just uninstall it so I can do this tutorial. So they told me the folder already exists, so I'll tell them yes, continue. Yes, just follow next. Create a desktop icon, why not? So install. So it usually takes some time, but just gonna wait for it. So it requires Java. You see the jar, all these .jar files because the Eclipse IDE is built on Java. So it requires Java for almost everything. I think it's written in Java, maybe with um some maybe part of it is written in C++, but most of it is, I think the graphic user interface is Java. So start Eclipse after installation, why not? All right, so now this is how it starts. Let's take note of a few things. All right, so it always asks you for your workspace. Your workspace, each time you create a new project, where is that project going to be stored? I always like mine to be stored where I can easily access it. I don't want it to be in my documents, so I'm going to change mine to a different location. Then I'm going to copy Liclips workspace out of here, and I'm going to browse this. So now where am I going to store it? I'm going to store this in desktop, et um, Python, then projects. I want it to be in Liclips, so I'm going to create a new folder here and paste what I copied. Usually it's not good to have spaces in your folder name usually when you're doing programming, so I use Liclips underscore workspace, or instead of using, I can just have Liclips. I think that's better. Usually you want to use lowercase, but let's just use uppercase for now. All right, so select folder. All right, so we have changed the location. Use this as a default. Do not ask again, oh, wow, we don't want this. So let's we'll always have to ask each time. Let's Let's just launch from here. All right. If you check this, each time you launch Liclips, they always assume this is your default workspace. All right. So, and you can go to recent workspace to change workspace if you want. All right. So let's just launch it now. You can minimize this. We don't need it. Now, here you choose a theme. Most programmers love dark theme because they actually code at night and they don't want all that light entering into their eyes. My eyes are already bad, so I don't need to. The dark theme can't help me anymore because I didn't take advice early. So well, but for you, if you're starting up in coding, it's always good to use a dark theme so you don't always have light entering your eyes if you spend a lot of time in front of your screen. So we take the dark theme. If you want to do more um, customization, you can go here and do a few things. If you're used to Sublime Text, which is a very popular text editor, you can choose the theme like Sublime Text or whatever you want. So well, I don't want this, so I actually choose to go back and I just want the Eclipse dark theme. And people who like Eclipse own, I just prefer the Eclipse dark theme. So that's all, and it appears with our dark theme. All right, so we have our dark theme in place. Now we are ready to go, and I want you to see something. Here we have the Pydev package explorer. Pydev is already installed. Now, if you want to install a new package, I think it's found in projects, I think Windows. Let me see preferences. Well, let's not look into that now. Like, just want you to know you already have Pydev installed. All right, yeah, or this is what I was looking for. Eclipse Marketplace. If you want to install, for example, Java, if you want to use all web design HTML5, you want to be able to code in HTML5 using this Liclips, or you want to be able to code in Java scripts using Liclips, you go to help and you go to marketplace. They are going to open the marketplace of Eclipse where you can add other packages because for now, if you, as you realize, we have only Python here. You can use it for other programming languages. For example, it's very convenient to use for web design. In fact, I'm going to use web design right now. Then I'm going to install it for JavaScript and HTML5. Let me type. I like JavaScript. I love it. I love JavaScript. So going to try to install JavaScript and HTML5. Now, whatever programming language, if you've been using Eclipse or you just want to use this, you like Eclipse and you want to use it for your other programming languages, feel free. Come to Windows, help, go to Marketplace and get what you want. So, it may take some time. Let's just give it some time. All right, so it's done. Let's search for Java. All right, let's check. Welcome to Eclipse Marketplace. Is there any Java here? Or HTML5, JavaScript? Let's check. I don't seem to see Java. If you already have, let me check for HTML5. All right, look like I can't find it. I can't find neither HTML. Eclipse Web. Okay, Eclipse Web Development to include HTML, CSS, JSON, and Java. All right, look like this. It look like this. It look like this. Let me check if there's any other stuff like this. Go to go to project. Eclipse plugin to allow you to navigate through project. No. All right, so you get it. That's what we're going to download because it's always good for us to add some light HTML. All right, so let's look like there are more. All right, so let's select this. If you want to use for C or C++, you can click this. Yes, so next is web development, I think. So I like this. Install. So very nice. Very, very nice. So we are going to install this for web design. So once you have this, you can also use this environment to do your web development. Most people like to use Visual Studio for web development. It is also a very good environment for web development. So you can use this or use your Visual Studio code if you want. But I think Eclipse is also very powerful for web development. Very powerful. I think it's taking a lot of time. Let's give it some time to work. All right. Look like it's done. All right, so it needs to include all this, install all these stuffs. We need to allow it to do that. So I think we just need to go confirm. So all right, we give it time to install all these stuffs already downloaded. Usually takes some time, so maybe we'll just wait a little and give it some more time. All right, you need to accept this. All right, we can't wait for it to finish. We can't wait for it to finish. So we're going to continue what we are doing. It's going to download, it's going to install the software and get done on its own. So we're going to give it time. We're going to continue. Look like it's getting faster now, installing software 48%. I just wanted you to see it's going to appear here each time we say, maybe when we are done, it's going to be done. So let's continue. So now we want to create a Python script. For example, here now you can see we have only Python. Only Python is already installed using the Pydev project. You always know Pydev projects and is some kind of a plugin for Python on Eclipse. It allows you to be able to use Python within Eclipse. So now we say new Pydev project. You can say new Pydev project or new project and select Pydev. So you can do it any Pydev project. You can do it anyway. So you see, you can use Django. That's what I was trying to tell you. Pydev Django project. So very, very, very nice. So let's take it, our dev project next. Now, this is very important. We need to give the project a name, which is important. Let's give it a name. I'm going to call it test. Let me say Liclips, Liclips test. Liclips 1. Yeah, Liclips 1. Now, look, it's actually selected our workspace. That's project Liclips. So Liclips 1. Or let's just say project 1. Project, I think this is the best. Project 1. Now, you can use Jython, which is a mixture of Java and these are just derivatives or flavors of Python. You know, we have only Python installed now, but Jython and Ion Python, maybe IPython. I think this is a mixture of C and Python. This is a mixture of Java and Python, something like that. Now, you can use that. Then next, they asked us to, syntax validation is very important. When you're coding, you want the ID to know if you're actually having an error on your code, if you're making a mistake or something like that. So what you want is the ID to be able to interpret your code. We call it just-in-time compilation or just-in-time compilation. The ID is it goes through your code while you're coding and it's able to tell you this an error, this an error, this an error. Very important. So what you want to do is you want to be able to let the interpreter, and you can help this, you see, say you can help the interpreter by telling it the exact version of Python you use. We're actually using Python 3.8, so we let it know. Okay, so it helps for its syntax validation in case we make a mistake. You know, the Python, different versions of Python may have slight differences. So by letting it know we're using Python 3.8 is very advantageous for it. Now, this is very important. It asks you where Python is. Remember, it does not come with Python. It actually relies on the Python, unlike softwares like Anaconda. Anaconda comes with its own installation of Python, so it does not need Python to be on your machine. This, like um, Visual Studio Code, usually asks for your Python interpreter. Now, you need to tell it where Python interpreter is. And if you haven't watched the first video, or if you don't have Python on your machine or on your computer, I'll advise you to watch the first video I did, or our video on installing Python. Very important. So I'll advise you to watch that. You can look in the pop-up at the top right corner. I think it appeared there. So um, you can watch that video so you know how to install Python. Right now, we assume Python is on your computer, so you have to tell this guy or Liclips where Python is. So you tell it where I want to do it manually right now. So how do you find Python? Very simple. Just type Python and follow. You can follow. Here is the Python interpreter they're looking for. So let's just follow this. You see, we want to get where it is. So we right click and go to open file location. Now we don't need the shortcut. As you see, this is a shortcut. We actually want the file itself. So we right click and go to open file location, and here is the file. This is the file normally called python.exe. It's the Python interpreter. Now what we want to do is to find the location of this file. It's very simple. You can either use properties and go to you can copy this. You can select all. I think you can copy this, right click. When you select it all, you can right click and copy if you want, or you can just click up here, which is the easiest. Right click, copy, very important. And we are targeting python.exe, so we should know we are actually, because it can either use pypy.exe or python.exe, but we are providing python.exe, so we want it to know we are actually using python.exe. So in this case, we let it know, you see, ask for python.exe or pypy.exe. So we're going to say new, and it's going to ask us browse for pypy or python.exe. You can also use conda. That's if you have an conda on your computer, you can give it conda.exe or something. So but we have Python, so we're gonna give it Python. Now it's trying to look for it. Simplest thing, just click here and paste the part you copied from the previous step. No, we're going to restart later. Our software just finished installing, so they're asking us for a restart. So um, right, our HTML software just finished installing, so we need to restart the IDE for it to take effect. I'm going to show you that. So this is the file. We click this file and press open, click open, and now everything is set up. We click OK. Now it's going to do some work to show you it actually found what it was looking for, and we're going to click OK. Make sure everything is selected. If not, you click select all and OK. Yes, so it gives us a small warning about P version stuff. We should upgrade the P version. Very easy to do, but we're going to leave that. It's not very important for us now. So apply. It's going to do some work to let you know it has found what it was looking for. Let's just give it some time. These things take time. All right, it's done. And I think what we need to do the last time is to click apply. All right, select interpreter, what to be restored, Python app data local program. We already have this now. Okay. All right, we already did this. So apply. Okay, it's already applied. You just keep asking us questions. So we're going to apply and close. All right. So we are done. We have selected the Python interpreter already. We have everything. So we are ready to go. I think it's simple as There's nothing next. I think all these add project to directory, we can leave this, it's not very important now. Next, there's nothing, so we can click finish. Now I would like us, we already have a new project, but for now let's just restart so our new install program can take effect. Now Liclips created a shortcut for us during installation. We can launch the tree shortcut. I don't know why the icon does not it's not present on the shortcut. So access for our workspace like we did the previous time. No, we selected a workspace different from this. I think here was our workspace desktop. I think it was not all. It was PT Python project. I think Liclips is our workspace. Yes. Let's just use this as a default for now. All right, so you see the workspace is very important. It helps you just to detect your projects in your workspace. So now let's see if HTML was installed like we did. File, new, uh, let's see if there's any other project. All right, so you see we now can do a JavaScript project. We can do a JIT project for those using JIT. We can do a web project using CSS, HTML. We can do an XML project and everything. So it's ready for web design now, front end at least. I think here we have several, I don't know what language it is. Let me see. So you see, so that we have learned how to also add other packages. You can add other languages, maybe Java. If you want to use this for Java, you just need to follow the same step and do those stuff. Let me see. You just need to go to help and Eclipse Marketplace. That's all. So for now, okay, now let's go back to Python. We created from the last step, we created the Python project called project one. It's easy, just create a simple file to get started. New file, file. Yes, you can put it in the source folder, but for now, let's just create a new file. Now, this file, let's just call it test1. Test1 is normally .py, so you need to add the extension most times. I think you need to add the extension, and I think that's all for now. Finish. Yeah, so you have test1.py. All these things are good. So, okay. Now, let's test if everything is working well. Print hello world. Let's run it now. Save, Control S, and then let's run. Here is the run stuff. They'll ask you for a few configurations. You don't want to do all this, so what you do is to close this first. It's not difficult to do, but let's close this. Let's go to run as. Not where my, you see, I'm not on run. I'm on this arrow. There's an arrow here facing down, so we click on it and run as Python, Python run, something like that. So you see hello world. Now we are good to go. We have started coding with Liclips. Basically, this is all you need to know about Liclips. But let's try to write a little complex program. And what's our complex program? It contains a list. It asks the user to enter a list, and it asks the user to enter a number continuously and finds if the number is in the list. If the user enter -1, the program will exit. So here is it. We first create a list called secret equals to. This list contains a group of 1, 8, 7, 9, 44, 5, 5, 23, 16, 19, 80. Alright, so this is our secret list. Next, we ask the user to enter a number. We know we want it to be an integer. Number equals to integer. So now take note of how an editor works. An editor is different from a text editor. An IDE is different from a text editor. It has what we call code completion, IntelliSense, and many other things. You see, it already knows what we are trying to do. It even gives us a documentation on a function. In fact, if you write learn, it already tells you what learn is all about. You click on this. Then found as built-in is a built-in function. You see, it gives you a lot of information. Once you type in, if you type float, it already tells you what float is. Convert a string or a number to a floating point, whatever you do. So in fact, if you type even secret, you point on this secret, it already tells you it's a normal, it's a variable like this. It's a variable you already had. You see, when you click it, it even highlights the source of the variable. So in fact, you pointed many things. If I don't, it looks like if you point, it even shows what is in the variable. So IDs are very good, especially this ID. It has very good intelligence. So if you're new to coding now, normally I can recommend this ID to you for Python. It's very good. So secret, so let's say enter number int. It has code completion. Once you start typing, it can show you. So we call all that intelligence. It has a very good intelligence. So integer, we want to use the input function. You see, it's called a prompt. It's already showing read a string from the standard input and all this. So you is very IDs are very good, but not very good for a beginner because it's like spoiling a young programmer. It can make a young programmer to be a little bit careless. You know, they won't want to type, they just know everything will be shown to them, you know. So sometimes young programmers are advised to use ideally Python for a start, you know. So at the start I'll be using ideally Python for some time before switching to some. When we start writing complex programs, then I'm going to be using the IDEs, but for the meantime I'll be using text editors and ideally. So input, this is what we call a prompt. You pass it, enter a number to search. All right, and enter a number to search. So I think everything is good. And now what we want is that this is supposed to happen all the time. So we need to put it in an infinite loop called while true, so that it should happen all the time. Happen all the time. While true, number equals to int. Um, number equals to int, yes. All right. So what we want to do is that if the user entered -1, we have to break out of the loop, and if number equals to -1, break break will actually cause you to leave the loop, and outside the loop we want to just print goodbye, so that print goodbye, so we know. So I just want us to do some kind of a complex programming with. So so now if or else is going to search a loop. If you can either use a while loop, you know, there are many things to do. You can use a simple form just to say if you can just simply say like if number in secret um and print, tell the user um, number is, is found in the list, or number is present in the list. You can say like this. Yes, you can use else if you want. Else print number was number not in the list. All right, so this is a simple program. Now this is the simplest way of doing it. If number in list, print number is not in list. If number equals to okay, so here is the simple. Let's try to run this program. Run. Let's use our normal run. Yes. Oh, I had to use enter number to search. I want to make it to look neater, so I need to do like this. Yeah, it's not compulsory, but it makes it look neater. Okay. So I'm going to type it's going to keep 44 there. I don't want what is there. 34 is not present in the list. 44 44 is present in the list, and 73 73 is not present in the list. You see, it keeps asking me 80 is present in the list, and if I enter -1, it's going to break. Goodbye. So this is a simple program. Now, instead of using this, you can decide to use a for loop to check the loop, and you can declare a variable called found and give it a value false. We are going to learn all this later on. And then now use a for loop to check for x in in numbers. You can say for x in numbers or in range. In range, then you say len secret this no secret. You saw if you use this is very good. Let me show you something. If you use a function from a module, it automatically attempts to import it for you. You understand? A method from a module you haven't imported, the IDE will try to import the module for you. But for now, let's just go ahead. If you say range len secret. So what we want to do is that we are trying to create a range of items from 0 to the length of secret, which is for 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15. If we are about 17, we want, and we are going now to index. So what are we going to do? All right, if number equals to secret this is very long. Normally you don't want to go through this, but it's just a method of programming. If number equals to secret, you can either use braces or you don't if you want. It's common in C but not in Python. If number equals to secret I, not I, x, sorry. If number equals to secret I, x, you can say print you can print number is present in the list. If number is present in the list and or you can just set found equals to true, yes, and break found equals to true and break not true. You see, try to install pickle because pickle has what's called true, but I'm not interested. True. Now what if this for loop ends without found equals to found being true? It means it did not find what we entered. So at the end of the day, we can just come here out of the for loop after the for loop and say if found print um, number in the list else number in the list. So now next, okay, now so here is this is just a long way of writing this code. Like it's not like it's necessary. We can use the first way I showed for this in this all this stuff, and I'm going to teach you all this normally. If you have read the content in the channel, in the Telegram channel, you probably understand this, but for now I'm going to teach you all this. So what we did is we actually use a for loop to go through all the items in the list by index, this range will actually create a number from 0 to I think 17, and x will take the value 0 to 17. So the first time is going to be 0, the second time is 1, the third time 2, and we use that. So we are going to be indexing 0, which is sacred 0, sacred 1. So at the end of the day, we are going to go through all the items in this list, and if number is equals to sacred at any time, we say found equals to true. And I forgot this, we have to break. Why? It saves us time. By breaking, it shows we have reached the end of the loop. By breaking, it prevents us from going through the whole loop when we have already found the query or the search item. It has a name, it's being called, I forgot. All right, we have found what is being searched already, so we don't need to continue going through the list. It's waste of processor time. So at this point, let's try to run it. You may have some errors, but we're going to fix that and run as. All right, we don't have any error. All right, so search 3 is not found. What of 9? 9 is present. Yeah. What of 7? The 7 is not found. What of 55? Yes. What of 44? Yes. All right, so I think this is just an example of how to use Liclips. So I think from these tutorials, I've taught you guys how to use Liclips, set it up, um, show it where Python is installed, like run your first 2 programs or something. And maybe just as a bonus, I'll also show you how to run, if you to know how to look for your, because you may want to use this Python file separately. So you have to go to your Liclips, where Liclips actually creates its workspace. So let's say we have everything saved, so we can exit Liclips. Now we can do anything with the Liclips file. Projects, Liclips. Here is the file, project 1. Here is that file we are working with. You can edit it if you want and do other things with it. You can even run it directly on the Python interpreter. So you mustn't run it in Liclips. That's just what I want you to know. Because you created it in Liclips, don't mean you are bound to execute it from Liclips. You can even execute it with ideally Python. You can do, for example, here is it, run. You can run it with ideally Python. You see, enter search item, 33, 44, 44 is present, 6 is not present, 55, 55 is present in this. So you can run it from here, or if you don't want to run it from here, you can also use, I've shown you, right, you press shift on the keyboard, right click, and open a PowerShell. If you want to run it from the command line, you can do this. You can type python test1.py, and hello world still asks you, is 66 in the list? No. 77 in the list? 77 is not. What of 55? 5. What of 44? 44 is present. What of 11? 11. What of 1? 1. And all this. And to quit, you know that you enter -1 to quit, so you say goodbye. So you can do that if you want. So once you create the Python script in Liclips, you can do anything you want with the Python script. It's not bound to be used within Liclips. That's just what I wanted to stress on. So I think this is the end of these tutorials. Yes, so you guys have a nice time, and I think I will see you guys later in the next video.